This episode of Test Drive is brought to you by Hvac and their EV Duty Smart Home Charger.
Well, folks, it's snowing at the end of October here in Quebec. By the time you're watching this, it's the start of November. But the point is, it's winter now. And luckily, our press car is the first that we've had this season with winter tires. So we're going to be doing some testing, and we'll see how much snow actually falls. But our spotlight today is on this 2020 Chevrolet Bolt LT. Now, this is the entry trim for the Bolt EV. 2 years ago, for the 2019 model year, we featured the Premier, which is the top trim. This one still comes well equipped, but there are some things that you don't get if you go with the base trim. It's up to you whether or not they're important, but you lose out on the 17-inch aluminum wheels, side signal mirror repeaters, chrome strip for the door handles, roof rails, an HD surround 360-degree camera system, lane change and blind zone alert, rear cross traffic alert, rear park assist, Chevrolet's rear camera mirror, ambient interior lighting, leather seating, rear outboard heated seats, a rear armrest, which actually might be important if you plan on putting people in this car, wireless phone charging, and you only get a 6-speaker audio system versus the 7-speaker Bose that you get on the Premier. There are small convenience features that you lose out on. There's no map pockets in the backs of the seats, and you also don't have the charging port in the back seat area, but for the most part I think this is what people are going to be looking for. Now, what's new for 2020? A 34 kilometer or about 10% increase to the overall range, now rated at 417 kilometers. The rear and surround vision cameras have also been updated to HD video feeds. It looks a lot better than we saw in the 2019 that we drove. Also, there's 2 new colors. Oasis Blue, it's a teal color, looks really nice, and this Cayenne Orange Metallic. Aside from that, though, the Bolt has pretty much remained unchanged. Base price for this LT, $44,998 Canadian. We have a number of options on here. $495 for the paint, $260 for the black bow ties. Those are super important. And then $795 twice to get both driver confidence packages. That essentially adds the features that you don't get safety-wise from the Premier, along with automatic emergency braking, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, forward collision assist, high beam assist, and follow distance. Now, it is important to note that the car will tell you how close you are, that is the follow distance, to a vehicle in front of you, but it will not use it for active cruise control. So it's just regular cruise control on the Bolt. Now, we have driven a number of other fully electric cars since we drove the Bolt last. Has our opinion changed? Find out as we take it on our road test. So let's get behind the wheel of this Bolt and figure out why this might be the car on your list. If you're in the market for a compact wagon, according to the EPA, and want to know everything you need to know before buying. As I mentioned, since filming the last Bolt that we did, I have driven a number of electric cars. However, only one was in winter, more or less. We featured the 2019 Hyundai Kona at the beginning of December, so about a month from now, last year. And that vehicle, did pretty well. We did our 100 kilometer test loop. It completed it in 18.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Now, it was 6 degrees outside on average when we filmed that, did all of that. What I'm doing now, it's 4 degrees, so about the same, and we have averaged 18.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So a little bit more, used up a little bit more energy. I've mentioned before, but if this is the first time you're coming to our show, I always set the HVAC controls to 21 degrees. Now, back when we did the Kona EV, I had some people comment to say that I should have turned off the HVAC or turned it low and used the heated seats and heated steering wheel and put on a jacket and whatnot, which is fine. I mean, if you're crazy and you really want to get the absolute maximum range all the time, then you do that. But when we're doing these tests, we need to make sure that each and every test we do is more or less standardized. I can't control the weather, I can't control the temperature, but I can control the route, I can control the HVAC, and I can control my driving. That's why everything that I can control is always the same. So yeah, if you really wanted to not use the HVAC, you go ahead. According to the Bolt's infotainment system, out of that 100 kilometers that we did, 16% of the energy used was for the HVAC settings. Now, one of the reasons why the Kona might have been a little bit more efficient was it has a heat pump here in Canada, which helps to offset some of the heating energy consumption, as well as keeping the batteries warm. Now, that's more for charging. However, I was informed when I was looking online that for 2020, all Bolts, at least sold in North America, come with the cold weather battery package that helps with charging. That was something that you probably didn't get in the US, but I believe we had here throughout the entire production run for the Bolt. But the other reason why the Kona might have been a little bit more efficient is it has a driver-only HVAC mode, whereas this is pumping out air on both sides of the car. Now, there's no rear vent in the center console, so the passengers in the back seat would just have floor heating, but it is pumping air into the entire space. And we talked about that with the Kona. If I was sitting in the driver's seat, I was comfortable, but if I put my hand over to where the camera equipment is right now, when I did that, super long distance drive that I did to test, it was cold. It was noticeably different because it was only pumping in the heat. So I know it's a small number, 0.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but that does add up over the course of a few hundred kilometers. That can reduce your range. Now, I did mention as well, because it is colder out, that the total range is lower on this. It has projected about 313 kilometers total range throughout my entire week with this so far. That's down from that 417. So you do lose about 25% of the overall range, and it's only 3 degrees. Imagine if it's minus 20. Why would you consider the Bolt? If you're in the market for an electric car, choices are really good. There's so many options out there and at this price point. The benefit is you do get quite a bit at this entry-level price point, $44,000 plus the options. I would skip the black bow ties unless you absolutely need them. And the paint color, it's festive for spooky month, even though you're watching this just after Halloween. But there are some paint colors that you can choose from. And then the driver confidence packages, they help. They add some of those more enhanced safety features, but without active cruise control, for example, it's really the only thing that I use on a daily basis. That would have been really nice. Aside from that, though, this gives you what you want. Does it have ventilated seats? No. Does it have navigation on this trim? No. The 360 camera would have worked really well. We don't have it on this. It works. We haven't really done any of the base model cars for electrics, but this gives us an idea of what most people are going to be considering if they're buying an electric. Not everybody goes all out. Some people do. I would. But people are buying these because they want something affordable and practical, and they don't want to be spending $50,000, $60,000 on a car. They just want to get back and forth to work without having to spend any money on gas. And this will do it even in the winter. Unless you're really doing a ton of kilometers, having about 300 in the winter, more than enough. I don't see the reason why you would need it unless you're going road tripping, long distancing. Considering nobody's really going anywhere these days, this is more than enough. We like to talk about any standout features, and the one standout feature that comes on this car is the steering mounted brake pedal. We talked about it a little bit, I believe, when we did the Bolt and maybe even the Volt, but you do have the option of using the essentially left flappy paddle here to bring the car to a stop. It is designed for single pedal use, so perhaps if you're somebody with a disability and you can use one leg, but your left leg or whatever, your right leg maybe doesn't work, and it's easier for you to drive with one leg and one hand on the wheel to be able to brake the car, it's a possibility. It's there if you want to use it. You don't have to if you don't. Does it work as well as some of the other cars that I've tested? I don't know. Compared to the Leaf, which you had the option of using their e-pedal, which was one pedal to do both, or the BMW i3 that used the same kind of idea, this is a little different. Problem is, if you're turning and you're braking, this goes with it. The brake pedal goes with you. So it's a bit of a bummer. I don't really use it, but it is there. That is a plus. And the last thing that we do like to look for when it comes to the electrics is what the charging port has to offer. In this specific case, we can do pretty much everything that we look for with the charging cable. We can have the car running and plug it in. We can have it scheduled, and we can even use the remote starter to get the air conditioning or heat going, and then it will kick into the charger if it's plugged into the wall. Everything works. The only thing is, it says that it will lock the charging port, and it does sometimes, but it seems once the charging profile is over, it unlocks it. And the door itself doesn't lock. Could be a plus or a negative for some people, but so far I haven't had any issues with it. Everything that I want this car to do
it does it. But overall, you're going to be considering the Bolt because you do want something a little different when it comes to an electric car. You like to stand out, you like to have something a little funky than your typical car. Everything about it works. There is no complaints about it, though it would be nice to have a heat pump on this vehicle. It could be something that we'll see for the next model year, but as of now, it still does not have it. So that would be a feature that electric owners will definitely be missing. But aside from that though, it works. If you don't need all the bells and whistles, this is a good option. Pricing is in line with everything else that is available in the market, and there is no complaints. I did mention in our previous video that the steering felt a little off. It still feels that way. It's nothing exciting, but again, it's an electric car. It's not meant to be anything other than a good commuting vehicle, and it's what it does really well.